And this is Chippa Khan, and this is the Changing Times, Changing World show. And tonight we're going to be talking about some of the issues with people of color and the modern neo-pagan community. Let's face it, paganism is kind of the default position for religions, but in modern America, it was reinvented in the 60s and 70s. Historically, I think it's kind of important that it was when the witchcraft laws were rescinded in England. That was when Gerald Gardner created Wicca, which then spread 10 years later into America. And Wicca, by the 70s, began to work with people who were mostly middle-class white Americans. And in Great Britain, it was middle-class white British people. And it spread so that by 79, you could have Drawing Down the Moon, Spiral Dance. It had become a phenomenon. Well, let's face it, there's a lot of Americans out there who aren't white.
Yes.
The gods have a tendency to tap anybody they feel like it when they want to work with them. And some people ignore that, and some people are quite happy to be Christian, and some people listen. And because of culturally ingrained habits, I think that many times people of color who come into paganism and heathenry, I must admit that I have personally heard some pretty annoying suggestions in heathenry, where it's like, but why would you be worshiping Thor and Freyja? Your ancestors are from Africa. Excuse me, guys.
I have a story about that, actually. So,
time to turn it on. I'm going to introduce, this is Janice White, who is our special guest tonight. And because I looked around for people, I can address history. I am so freaking white. So, Janice, why don't you inform some of us, because some of us really would like to know what to do and what not to do to make our groups, our many varied groups, uncomfortable for someone who approaches and would like to be a part of it.
Okay. Well, first of all, don't say anything ridiculous as, why are you worshiping Thor or Freya or Adonis or Apollo or any god that is not African? That's a stupid question, and it really irritates us to no what end. Very stupid question, because like you said a minute ago, the gods choose us, and we also choose the gods. You know, there's a lot of gods in my apartment building, so to speak, but they have been chosen by me, and they have chose me. And, you know, I have Meter. I also have Saraveti, which is an Indian god, or a Hindu, or a goddess actually. Apollo, you know, Thor, whose African brother is Shango. You know, I have my share of European gods and Indian gods, and I serve them as their human counterpart. And, you know, they don't say, oh, you're Black, so you shouldn't be serving me. They just let me serve them, if you understand what I'm saying.
Totally. I would like to say that I personally was told when I started working with heathens that it's like, oh, well, you can't, you have to stop working with Anubis and Apollo, and it's like, and I was like, excuse me, you don't get to tell me who my friends are, and you don't get to tell me who my gods are.
I agree.
And I just, that's rude.
Yeah.
So
Well, the story I wanted to say, way back in, God, I think it was 97, 98, and I went to Sacred Space, and there was a lot of white people, and maybe 4 or 5 of us, which I was included in that 4 or 5. And this burly guy came over and basically said, you know, why are you doing here? You know, why aren't you doing some Santeria somewhere? And I'm like, and I was working for a prominent pagan woman and working her booth. And like I said, I was one of maybe 5 Black people, no Hispanics, no Arabic people, no Orientals or Asians, more like it, just myself and 4 other Black people. And I'm like, well, this significant person had asked me to work her booth, and she's a friend of mine. And, you know, the gods choose you, you don't choose the gods. Well, in a way you do, if you're going to work with them, but they choose you first. So it doesn't really matter what color you are to the gods.
I'm kind of wondering, I just accept reincarnation as a kind of a given, and that, you know, I may be female now and I may be white now, but I could be other things in other lives. And it, reincarnation sort of makes the idea of race and gender really less important than who you are as a person. I was
Yes.
wondering if that was part of what your thoughts were.
Well, I know I have been white before. I've been having dreams, not so much now, but when I was growing up, about Russia. And I actually want to go to Russia. I can't go now because I don't have the money. And we have this annoying thing called COVID. Uh, but I know that they used to have different type of shoes, and one had like a key, and they're usually Black shoes. And I've seen the Kremlin. I've seen different aspects of Russian life. So I believe that I was a Russian at one time, a Russian female at one time. So I have had the white experience before, and now I'm having the Black experience.
I think that anyone who was, especially like the European colonizers, ought to be having a Black experience in a few lifetimes to get a feel for what they did, or you know, if they were, or Native American or whatever. That,
Yes, yes.
There's a lot to be answered for in some of the behavior of European Americans and Europeans.
I'm hoping that all these supremacists will have an awakening in their next life. You know, you don't have to come back Black. You can come back Hispanic. You can come back Native American. You can come back Asian or Arabic, as long as you have that experience that is much different from coming back as white.
Yeah. I do. So other than that sacred space issue, and that was one person, and whether there are hundreds of people, sacred space. Have you heard either personally or from other people about about I am hoping we can come up with things we can talk about. I want to be educated.
Okay.
I am not sure that I am not inadvertently doing really dumb shit stuff.
Okay.
That's offensive.
Okay.
What can we avoid? What can we do to include people? Other than not asking some of the dumb questions like, can I touch your hair?
Oh, yeah. Oh, please
God.
don't touch her hair.
Yeah.
Please, please, please.
Where
don't
do
touch
people
her
get
hair.
that?
So
I'm sorry.
that's really, really, really offensive to Black women, especially Black women. Do not touch her hair. Do not. Don't even think about touching our hair. Let's put it that way. And the same goes with our skin. Don't touch our skin either. Don't come up and go, oh, your skin is so soft. And I was like, well, I do that for myself. I don't do that for you.
Yeah.
So bad habit.
Bad say. Yeah, I've
Bad,
heard of that. I haven't seen
habit.
it, but
Bad.
I'm sure there are other things that people do. And I hope not to recognize myself.
Okay. Another thing that's really annoying, which I have experienced and I still experience, you sound white. And I'm
What?
like, you sound white.
They say that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meaning you don't sound Southern?
Well, I'm not from the South, I'm from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
My
You're from
parents were both from the South, but I think what they're actually talking about is how proper my English is and my diction and how I pronounce things. And I don't talk in slang. I don't do ebonics. I talk the King's English because that's what the money that my parents paid for me to have that quality education and for me to actually sound white. But that's not a compliment because I'm not white. So, and all the people that think that's a compliment, think again. So, I mean, what does it mean to sound white, really? So, so that's another no. Don't say you sound white. That drives me up the wall. And I know if it drives me up the wall, it drives other Black people, other Hispanic people up the wall.
I'm guessing that basically what you do is you treat them like anybody else who's come in,
Yeah.
who's new, and you say, hi, welcome.
Yeah. And but some of the things to do, because I don't want to give you a list of don'ts, even though I have more don'ts than those four, do include us in the planning. Let me repeat that. Do include us in the planning. I've been to Changing Times, Changing Worlds. I think this year was my 4th year of teaching. I love teaching there. I think I had a really good response to the classes that I actually did there and the panels that I was in. I'm so sad that Jasmine wasn't here to be a part of it tonight because she's younger than I am, and I'm sure that she has a totally different perspective because she is younger than I am. But we have Heather here. And we're going to be talking to you a little bit too, Heather. I don't think you're going to be just sitting in and
I'm ready for it.
Anything. So, but do include us in the planning because we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay, and we're multiplying. So, I'm not mean like we're having babies, even though we are having babies. There's a lot more pagans of color now than it was when I started 28 years ago. So, and we are multiplying, and we are becoming part of the platform in COG, which is the Covenant of the Goddess, Circle Sanctuary, Changing Times, Changing Worlds, the Witch Fest, which is in New York City, actually. The Fellowship of Isis, where I got my start at, and all around, you know, we're making our own covens, our own temples. So give us a seat at the table. And do not be shy about it either. So Heather, I don't want to ask you how old you are.
Oh, you're welcome to. I'm 33.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm very comfortable with who I am. You can ask anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're the other person of color here. So tell me your take about pagans and magic and all of that.
So let me just tell you guys a little bit about my background.
Okay.
So I'm 33 now. I started in the neo-pagan community when I was 16.
Ooh,
I went
okay.
to the University of Connecticut and I ran our pagan group. It was on campus for over 15 years. I ran it for 3 years, and I also ran a couple interfaith groups on campus. So yeah, that's kind of my background. I identify as Black, white, biracial. So yeah, that's me. I will say, I think the biggest issue is not that there's a lack of diversity in the neo-pagan community, it's the lack of visibility. So like, we're here, we exist, especially people that are, I would say, like 40 and under, from my experience, obviously. I don't tend to spend as much time with people that are significantly older than me, but from my age and younger. I work with teens as my profession, so I have experience there too. Yeah,
they're a lot of fun. I used to work with teens.
Oh yeah, I love teenagers. I don't know why.
I do too.
Yeah, they're so fun. But young people are, I say young people, but people like 20 and under, they're super diverse now. And I think
most of them. I'm not going to say all, but
no. Well, just as a group, they have they grew up in a world different than even I grew up in. I mean, there's now a lot more like trans visibility, a lot of multicultural expression that may not have been as prominent, that someone might identify with that maybe a little older. But I mean, there's a lot of, I guess, I think there's just a real lack of visibility. And I think working to help young, again, I'm a little younger, I work with young people, but helping any sort of diversity be more visible, I think, is what's most important, because everyone's here. Like, people of color exist in the community. They just don't, just because you don't see them doesn't mean they don't exist, basically.
Bing, 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 bing.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's the statement. Bing, 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 bing. Just because you don't see us doesn't mean that we don't exist.
Yes. And go ahead.
Oh, my prime reason for teaching, and I love to teach, is something I started with the Fellowship of Isis in Chicago, with my teacher then, which was Right Reverend Dina Buddha, which she passed away in 2013. And she took my mother and Lady Olivia with her. So I had all this female energy gone in 2013. But she had asked me to teach a class about African dance. And at the time, my knees were working perfectly. So I didn't mind doing it. And I just developed a love of teaching. You know, I'm doing substitute teaching when we're not dying from COVID, private joke. Right now, the doctors say, do not go into the classroom. So I'm going to follow my doctor's advice, so to speak. But I love teaching, and I started teaching with Changing Times, Changing Worlds off of Jane Sibley, because I have known her for at least 24 of the 28 years that I've been a witch. And I'm not a pagan, I'm a witch. Um, and I say that because I do other things other than witchcraft. I'm heavily into the Kemet studies and the African diaspora. So I can't really call myself pagan. So, and I have people that dispute that to the time the cows come home, but I know what I'm doing. So, but back to the thing, just because you don't see us doesn't mean that we're not there. Now, I'm all in favor about becoming public and showing up for different events, that you're going to be the minority and not the majority, because that's the only way that they're going to actually see us and get a handle on us, and know that we're not going to be coming in drunk, finger popping, and ebonics here and there, and we're just going to come in like our regular self, you know and in that way you'll be a lot more accepting, even though I'm not here to be accepted. I'm here to be me. But there is a certain percentage of white people that are looking towards Black people and minority people to become part of their ranks, because they're trying to diversify everything, especially this year. Now, if I could tell you all the different invitations I've been getting, because they're like, hey, we knew her, and so let's give her an invitation type of thing, which is also another thing that drives me nuts. So don't invite me because I'm a Black woman. Invite me because you like me. So, but don't invite me because I'm a Black woman. That's another insult. So, but yeah, as when we become more visible and we come to more events, especially big public events like Sacred Space, like Winterfest, and what they're doing in Massachusetts with Andreas Corbin. What's his?
Oh, the Earth Spirit.
Yes, Earth Spirit.
Right, spring, all those wonderful events. Oh, well.
Yeah, yeah. Because the more that we're noticed, this stigma about why you're here will eventually go away. Well, at least that's what my hope is.
I want to actually quickly divert a little bit.
Okay.
I heard Heather saying that she works with the young people. And
Yes.
I know that in a lot of my interaction with the pagan community, especially after the allegations about Satan worship in preschools and things in the 90s, people have become very wary of letting minors or anybody in. And a lot of us did come in when we were 15 or 16. So I'd like to invite Heather back to come and speak about working with young people in the neo-pagan community for another Changing Times, Changing Worlds. So let me make sure I have some contact information for you, because wouldn't that make a great show?
That would make
Anyway,
a great
that's-
show.
And
I would definitely
that
come to that show. Maybe not talking with
that
it, but I would come to that.
Yeah, that is kind of how I work with people. Is I don't care what you look like, I care what you've got to say, because people have great other experiences.
Mhm.
And recently people have been really afraid of working with young people. So, but
I love working
yeah.
with young people, actually.
Oh, they're wonderful. It was a pity. When I was a young pagan, most of us were in our teens. And it's nice to have the older wizards and witches and pagans and priests and druids around. But
Well, you
and
know that this it's a new world order, because I started when I was 28, and so I wasn't as young as Heather was when she started. And I started because my dad had died, and he had told me he was dead. Um, I was half asleep, and I had a knock on the door, and he was there, and he was talking to me like I'm talking to you, but even closer. And he said, "I died an hour ago." And I'm like, "Yeah, right. You're like, you're full of crap." And that's not the word I said. And, um, and I was like, "Yeah, right." Then I looked outside and I didn't see the car, because he loved Cadillacs, and he bought a couple Cadillacs, and he had one that was like kind of really annoying orange and white. I mean, you could see this in the dark. Uh, and but he loved that car, and I didn't see the car. So I was like, "Dad, how did you get here without your car?" And the phone had rang, sorry. And it's like, "Come quick, come to Harrisburg Hospital." And that's where I'm from, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And I'm like, "Dad, they're telling me to come." And there's no dad. There's nobody there. Nobody. And he visited me again, sorry, like 2 weeks later, just to see if I was all right. And I'm like, "Well, there's something to this, because usually people don't talk to dead people." Uh, and I started to, you know, talk around, and I was posting stuff, because we didn't have Facebook back then, Heather. Uh,
When
you
I started,
know,
we didn't have Facebook either.
so we just had MySpace, and
My
um,
MySpace was awesome. I get that.
and there was this man named Michael Kent, I think, Kent, that he had this thing about learn witchcraft, and I filled out the form, and he had sent it back to me, and he gave me the phone number of Silver Ravenwolf. And you know how popular she is now, but back then, you know, she just had a little bit of people. So she was my start, and you know, the rest is history, as they say.
Kind of interesting that you mentioned death as being the catalyst to you entering this kind of realm, because I actually had something similar.
Hmm.
So when I was 16, one of my very good friends and my boyfriend's best friend committed suicide. And he was in the Navy. I'm from a Navy town. And they had a memorial ceremony for him. And he identified as Druid, but they had it at a church, and um, everyone was talking about him. And we all his actual friends realized his shipmates knew nothing about him.
Hmm.
And after we left the church, my boyfriend's like, "I'm gonna come pick you up tonight at like 10 o'clock. I'm like, "What are we doing?" He's like, "No, you're gonna come with me." And we went out to this place in the woods, which is pretty well known in kind of the pagan community in my town. And we had a real memorial for him. And that was my first pagan event. And I've been doing this ever since. So I still see him in my dreams. And yeah, he's become almost mythological in my mind, because I mean, it happened when I was so young, and just really that being the catalyst to me doing something that became so important in my life.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's kind of interesting that death was kind of the catalyst for both of us.
Mhm. Well, I've seen my sister. I've seen two cats. I've seen people in the neighborhood that have crossed over. Both my mother and my grandmother have, but neither one of them has said, "Hey, I'm dead now. How are you doing?" So, you know, so, but they were very, 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 very Christian. Notice it said 5 berries. So, you know, they don't believe in, well, most of the Christians in my family do not believe in reincarnation at all. So I don't really think that's surprising that neither one of them have said something.
Ramen? Ramen. It's ramen the. Sorry, I'm at work with my kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're there's a big nor'easter coming, so we're kind of snowed in.
Yeah, it started snowing here.
Yeah.
I've been
in-
nervous that it might do something to the reception, but
Yeah, we had, I guess, about 5 inches. Now it's raining, so, you know, not to go out tomorrow because I can't afford to slip and fall and mess up my knee replacement.
oh no.
No.
Denise, now you can tell me, is this one of the things that you don't say, but is there a difference that you know of from before you became a witch between, I mean, yeah, there's going to be a difference between Episcopals and Baptists and Congregationalists and Catholics. Is clearly Africans weren't Christian when they were brought over as slaves.
No, no.
They
Not
were
at all.
forcibly Christianized. And
Yeah.
I think they made it over into something vibrant and real. I think the majority of Africans in America these days probably are Christian.
Mhm.
But would you say that they do it their own way?
I would say yes, because I know there's a bunch of pagans and Wiccans and witches that say, I am not a Christian. I say that myself. I'm not a Christian. I haven't been a Christian since I was maybe 25, because I was an atheist at one point, and I stopped doing that, especially after my dad visited me. But so, you know, I can't call myself an atheist after seeing the dead. But yes, but it is the Christianity, I feel, because I've been to white churches before, because I have a good amount of white friends, and my best friend was Mormon. So I've been to white churches, and I could tell the difference between a white church and a black church like that. The music is different. Sorry, I don't mean to offend you, but it seems like the white people are just sit down and they're extremely stiff, and you know they're not talking to each other, or they talk with their songbook in front of them, and you know they're not doing any type of emotion or anything. When you go to a black church, there's music, there's drums, people are high-fiving, you know, if you get sanctified church, they're talking in tongues and they're running up and down the aisles, and that's not a stereotype. I've seen that. I've seen that in black churches.
Have you been to a Quaker service?
No, I haven't been to a Quaker service.
If you've been to a Wiccan circle, and they circle and they raise the cone of power and they send it somewhere. If you go to a white Christian church, the power comes down from the altar over the congregation that's put their attention. It goes back up to the altar and then it comes down in a kind of a circle like that, but it's a back and forth circle. You go to a Quaker service and the power just kind of seeps out of everybody who's sitting there, and it sits like a fog over the entire room. And then they say, okay, we've come to the end of our service, and they all go away. And I'm like, you've got all this power sitting here. What are you doing with it? once you learn to perceive power, you watch the paths of it. And I was thinking that the energy, I'm sure you are, now you can see the energy. You can.
Oh yeah, I
It's
can
a
see energy very
It's a
quickly.
different way of using it.
I don't know whether or not using it, but it's like it's night and day, and I hate that's such a bad stereotype, but it is. It's night and day. It's really crazy how stiff and lifeless you are in your church.
Let's got to say it. Protestants, they're
Okay.
afraid of being happy.
Well, a couple Catholics are afraid of being happy too, but and you know, don't shoot the messenger. I don't want to have any bad press when I'm finished with this, but yeah,
Hey, look,
it's just like,
everybody is incredibly stupid about okay, not stupid, ignorant about things that they have no way of knowing about.
yeah.
How the heck would I know about wonderful Black churches and how they work?
Actually, go to a Black church. That's how you get your education. Go to a Black church.
Yeah, I sat through. Well, they don't have any up here in New Hampshire that I know where they are.
Really?
But
I'm actually surprised. We have Black churches in Connecticut.
There's Black churches in
I have-
Massachusetts.
okay, I don't know where to look. But
Okay.
as I said, I don't know how to hail a cab because I'm not urban. But my rural friend, my urban friends don't know how to milk a goat. So there you go. Don't feel badly about ignorance.
Okay. Well,
But-
I don't have nothing. I don't know how to milk a goat either. So.
But when you are believe in something, once that has broken through, then you are open. Like the idea of ghosts made you understand that there was more, and then you started learning it. And now look where you are,
Yeah.
teaching other people.
Yeah. You know, 28 years, I'm kind of floating into the elder status, you know, floating into it.
I went to a workshop by the wonderful Sue Arthen at Earth Spirit, and
Yeah.
she did a class on croning, and there were 14 women there, and not one of them was willing to admit that she was a crone. So,
Well, I'm not willing to admit it either, right? You know.
well, I'm definitely a crone. I'm there. So,
Okay. You know, I'm in my mid 50s, and you know, I'm thinking
Oh, no,
cloning is like 10 years from now. You know,
it's hard when you're in that in between stage.
yeah.
You said that there's maiden, mother, and crone, and I said there's two intermediate stages between maiden and mother. There's
Yeah.
bimbo,
Yeah.
and between mother and crone, there's denial.
Yeah. There you go.
But you get to a certain age and you say, screw it, this is who I am. I'm cool with it. I got the gray hair, I'm sprouting whiskers, I'm going to the bathroom 3 times a night. Yeah, fine, listen to me.
So
I
don't know. I
guess
still want to do that 10 years before crone.
yeah,
Because I know when
Yes,
I go to PSG, which
you're,
is
you're in the
Pagan
middle
spirit,
stage there.
But
Yeah,
there's a
we
group
are.
called Daughters of the Dark Moon, and it's basically from 35 to 65. That area where you're not mentally, you're not a crone, despite what your body might be doing. Mentally, you're not a crone. So, and that's where you want to stand. So you're a dark moon daughter.
You got to embrace it. You got to say, I am here to tell the young people, you know better.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Yes.
And you're better than that. Stop that. And teach them things that they don't know. So it's when you're ready to embrace that, then you say, okay, fine. I'll put up with the going to the bathroom 3 times a night. but yeah,
I'm closer to a crone than Heather is. Let's put it that way. But
oh, Heather, my God, she's right in the middle of mother.
she's a maiden,
The
so
challenge
no,
of
and
that
mother.
age,
You had kids. She's a mother, so
I don't have kids personally. I work with kids.
but a
oh,
lot of
okay,
people,
okay.
you don't have to have kids to embrace the mother role. So,
No, you don't, because I don't have
no.
kids, and like I said, I like working with young people. I have a
Oh
bunch of
God, yes.
nieces and nephews that I can fawn over.
I
But
would love to be able to have to work with young people again, but we're just once burned, twice shy. You get in trouble for it once, and you can't.
I don't think it's as hard as you think it is, to be
I don't
honest.
think it's that hard.
Troubles.
I don't think
I'm
it's that
sure
hard
it
at all.
change.
But
It depends on what community you're in.
yeah.
I mean, I've worked with people from Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania. I've never really had issues working with young people.
But you probably don't remember too much about the 90s, do you?
I mean, I was what, 3 to 13? So, yeah.
It was scary.
It's kind of been a while since the 90s, to be honest. Things have changed.
People really believed in Satan, people, stealing and eating babies,
Oh, yeah.
That's true. That's true. Because they had all that different school stuff that, the satanic verses. And yeah, I remember the 90s actually. So I was a young adult in the 90s. So, but
Yeah. Do you ever wonder what it was like for your grandmother? Because now that I am grandmother's age, she was born in 98. And so she was a young woman in the 20s, and she lived through Prohibition. And I suddenly, I wish I could talk with her. And I haven't talked to her since about 2 months after she died. So she came to see me, which was really nice.
well, my father
It
did
makes
that.
it so much easier when they come talk to you after they're dead.
It's so much easier when they come talk to you. Yeah. Yeah.
But
The last time my sister had said something, she didn't say something. Her picture just fell off the mantle and landed in my lap, and I knew it was her. And I started crying like a baby, and it was just like, and her son was like, "Yeah, she does that all the time." And I'm like, "What?" I said, "Have I passed my wisdom on to you?" But he said, "Yeah, she does that all the time. She turn over pictures and knock stuff off the wall." And I'm like, she's very vocal right now. So
it just makes it so much easier when you accept this stuff than have to spend your life tying yourself in knots trying to explain it away.
yeah. Or try to explain it to other people. Which, they told me I was nuts. I should declare myself to a hospital because dead people don't talk to you. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go bye-bye now. Thank you very much.
Please let us get past that's where the name Changing Times, Changing Worlds came from. Is we figure that if we can change the way people think about the three-dimensional aspect, the four-dimensional, five-dimensional aspect of the world, in another generation, life will be easier. People are psychic, deal with it. There are ghosts, deal with it.
Yes. And the veil is very thin. It's not as thick as people think it is. The dead cross over several times during the day. No, it doesn't have to. It should be your particular dead person.
Yes.
I don't see strange dead people. Let's put it that way. I don't see strange dead people. I see people that I'm either friends with or I'm related to. I'm not like that kid in The Sixth Sense. So I see dead people. I don't see strange dead people.
That would
I
be
see people that I know. But the veil is thin. And right now is at the thinnest because we just finished October and Samhain and the Day of the Dead, the Dawn of the Dead, All Saints Day, All Souls Day, Spaghetti Festival, which is all related to death. All of those holidays are related to death. So we're sliding out of it because it's almost the time for the new year. But the dead are still pretty much walking in and out. Now that will basically stop right around January, and they'll have their period of rest. But it
Yes.
starts back up again in October. So
It apparently starts kind of cyclically in around Beltane too. I first heard that about 15 years ago, and I was like, really? And since then, I've heard other people say, "Oh yeah, it's both times, both
Yeah.
the Yule and the Beltane time. You get Walpurgis night and stuff."
yeah. Well, that makes sense
But
because
I just
when it's Yule here in what they consider the northern end, it's Beltane like in the South America, Central America, that sort of thing. So that makes sense.
Australia.
What?
Yeah, I always say that when the lady is leaving in the fall, she's headed down to Australia and South Africa and,
Yeah, yeah,
those areas. And
yeah.
so we should, welcome winter the same way we welcome spring. It's like, but it's hard to do that when it's chilblains.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also
But I
hard
just
to do with people that are convinced that the dead don't say anything after they die. And
that's
you
because
can't
it's
really
freaking
convince anybody
dead.
of that.
Yeah, well, the thing is it a, if the veil may be thin, that's your curtain, and then they're shutting the window, and then they're closing the shutters, and they're saying,
Yeah,
no, you stay out there. But really, we need to just let people relax and say, you noticed every horror movie is based on gee, magic is real?
yeah,
Like, duh, guys, just the fact that people are psychic does not turn it into a horror movie.
no, it doesn't.
But what's horror is, I believe that the last number I heard was that there were 300 people a year average in this century killed in Africa for being witches.
Yes,
They're still
yeah,
killing witches today.
yes,
And
they
people
are.
talk like it was all Salem
No,
and the
no,
burning times in Europe. It's like, no, we have to allow for diversity.
yes.
We have to embrace diversity.
I know my
It's
Hugan, which is high priest in Haitian Voodoo. When I first met him, I didn't even share with him that I was a witch. I came with one of my friends. He had the exhibit in DC in the late 90s. The Witch Doctor is in. He lived in Brandywine apartments in DC, which are still there. And he did all his work, including executing chickens in his apartment. And, I finally confided in him that I was a witch, and he had me cast a circle, or he made me cast a circle, more like it. And at first was ridden by that, and that's kind of scary. I don't recommend that if you're not ready for it. But I'm still here. Uh, but there is a stigma in Africa and Haiti about witches, you know, and you have to be careful because there is still killing of witches. They're still burning at the stake, over there.
say something happy quick. We've only got a few minutes left.
Okay. Well, Okay, somebody just sent me a message about my one that's coming up. Well, it's the holiday season, and as you put on, I got the little Christmas tree on my thumb. So,
Oh, those are pretty.
and I'm finished with my Christmas shopping, and we haven't got a tree. I wanted to get it last night before it snowed, so whatever tree we're going to buy is going to have snow on it. So, but you know, I'm starting to get in the spirit. But 2020 has been an extremely vile year, and I can't wait for it to be over.
Yeah. We will look forward and speak softly and gently and not scare 2021.
Yes. That's all I'm going to say about it, because I don't want to scare 2021 at all.
No, we will. I think we also need like truth and reconciliation for 2020. We have to accept it and learn from it and move on. We're a lot more aware now. Okay, here's something happening.
Well, the best thing about it, the best and the worst thing about it is that, and I hope not to get any hate mail from this either, but I feel that George Floyd was the catalyst of all this awakening, not by Black people. Black people have known for centuries about the mistreatment, but for white people to be, you know, standing up and standing against their own with the Proud Boys, or the Poor Boys, as our president-elect calls them. And, you know, they're coming out to march, they're getting arrested.
Good.
You know, they are aware. So if anything good come out of all of this chaos, that's the one good thing. That white people are actually seeing some of the destruction that your race has done.
It's good. I am pleased. Wouldn't it be nice if 20 years from now we don't have to have discussions like this? I think it's going to take generations, because habits, a love may be strong, but a habit is stronger.
Yeah.
We need to, these people have to die off.
Yeah.
Have you watched the movie Blazing Saddles?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
I think it's 50 years old now, or nearly.
Yeah.
But you know, they were talking then about how stupid and horrible racism was. And we thought we were dealing with it. It's like, well, we had Martin Luther King and he got killed and that was horrible, but we're getting better now. Well, then we got complacent and stopped.
Yeah.
No, we need to keep freaking working until it's better. But
yes.
And we can stop. I mean, now that we've got this DNA tracing, everybody can look and see most of us.
Well, we all come from Africa, whether you want to believe it or not. We all come from Africa.
Yeah, but we lost our melanin. I get this white skin. It's like, but anyway.
Yeah, you walk too close to the sun and it we rotate. You walk too close to the sun and your natural color evaporated and you became white.
Yeah, we got washed out.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Anyway, okay, happy thing. Kathy Kane gave me a great idea. So the 30th, the show on the 30th is going to be about things to do and to eat and that type of thing for good luck for the next year.
Oh, okay. That's a good thing.
It's going to be all be things to do to bring luck in the upcoming year. And I'll tell you one thing, this is a Northern European thing, but have you ever heard of mince pies? It's like mince meat. They have little mince pies.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I had one. I'm from Pennsylvania, so you know the Dutch make those things all the time.
But those are, you're supposed to eat 12, you know, the little ones, not the big ones. You get 1 month of luck for every year. for every pie you eat. But, and this is a cool thing, they have to be from different people's houses. This is a community building exercise. You have to go and share with your neighbors in order to get 12 whole months of luck. I first heard about this in reading about World War I, where women would go around their village and trade pies with other women so they could send their sons in the trenches 12 different pies, because they wanted their sons in the trenches getting shot at to have 12 months of luck. And that
makes sense.
It's just such a community building action. I loved it.
Yeah, because I've done that with new neighbors that live in my community here in Fairfax, and also when I lived in Baltimore. You know, make something like a pie or a cake or whatever, knock on the door and like, hey, you know, welcome to the neighborhood. And that's how you break stereotypes and become real with another person, because you gave them something to eat, and in return, they let you in the house. You get to see what's going on in the house, because I'm incredibly nosy, incredibly nosy, and but that's how I know the neighbors. Where the man that I live with, he was there for at least 20 years and barely knew who was next door to him. And it's like, so you can't do that in the city. You have to know who's around you, because you don't want it to have a time where things go upside down like it is right now in 2020, and you don't know who your neighbors are.
The loss of community is the hardest part of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I guess it's thank you to everybody. As I say, Heather, make sure I have some contact information with you. Could you put it in the chat so that I can get back to you?
Absolutely.
And we'll have something else. I don't know what, probably something a little bit more lighthearted. Although we didn't get very dark this time. We could have gotten
Okay,
very
I was
dark.
thinking, I said, I didn't think it was that dark, but okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
But it's a serious.
Because that could get darker. That's why I'm like, okay, was it dark, really? But
if we had more people who had had bad experiences telling us about them, then we would have had it. But we didn't, so that's nice.
Well,
And,
I'm still kind of interested in hearing about Jasmine's experience.
Yeah.
So,
but they weren't able to be here today.
Yeah.
It took me a while, having been raised with an English major mother, to accept the they as a singular descriptor adverb, pronoun. But I learned that one. She can be taught.
Yes.
So anyway, so thank you for coming, and thank you everybody for listening, and we will see you. I will see you again next week, because I am the constant. I am the person who can't shut up and and loves talking to people so much. I'm doing this every week. But thank you for coming.
All right. Happy holidays.
Have a good New Year, everyone.
Holidays.
Happy New Year. And that's all the holidays, not just Christmas. That's all the holidays.
Yep. Yes. And I'm going to throw this one in. Hanukkah is not Jewish Christmas. Complete different thing.
It's not. It's not the Jewish Christmas at all.
Okay, so we are done, and so thank you, and I'm going to stop the recording, and because we're allowed to do that. And so, well, when I hit the stop recording,